Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. I know a lot of us have been experiencing fall weather, so hopefully you had, and some people have been experiencing monsoon. So hopefully you were in one of those parts of the country that had some great weather for the weekend. So as usual, this is the time to talk about things going well, things going poorly, stories like to share, hurdles you've had, successes you've had, because everybody can benefit from those things. And as always, it's a great, if you wish to talk on these calls, we're more than welcome. You just dial in or use a headset. Also, guys that missed the coaching call on Friday, you missed an unbelievable coaching call on Friday. Those are by far the best types of training that we do, because you're actually on the call. You're actually you're required to call in, so we actually have back and forth where we role play and all those kind of things, and the guys that are on those calls get a ton from them, much more so even than from these Monday morning calls. So you got to be on those Friday calls when we have them. We have twice a month, so it's not a huge commitment, and there's no replays on those because it's all interactive. So please, please, please try to get on those calls. So if you have any questions, concerns, whatever, type them in. Missy will let me know that you have those, and she'll stop me, and we'll talk about those. Otherwise, we will get started on today's topic, which is actually a continuation of last week's topic. Do this, and you'll close 100% of your prospects, really. And when I say that, I mean really. 100% of your prospects, you will close them. It is true. Yes, really. I'm telling you, it is. And I get that right from the motivational interviewing, which a lot of you know is where the whole system is derived from, is motivational interviewing, which is discipline of psychology, helping people change. It helps people change. Most often, people with addictions, people with problems, it gets them to change behaviors. And if you think about it, that's what we're in the business of doing, right? Getting people to change their behavior, getting people to change what they're doing. That's what we do. So the psychology of psychological discipline of motivational interviewing calls it the accurate empathy, accurate empathy, meaning the skillful reflective listening that clarifies and amplifies the person's own experience and meaning. So you'll hear me talk about constantly getting on people's side and constantly letting them tell me. That's what motivational interviewing is about. You get them to talk, and then you agree with them. You get them to talk, and then you agree with them. You get them to talk, and then you agree with them. That's how you get them to change their mind. You guide the conversation, but it's a constant getting them to talk and then agreeing with them and then guiding them in the direction that they need to go. So I call it, instead of motivational interviewing, I call it getting on their side, because that is what we're doing. We're getting on people's side. So here's what it is not. Because getting on their side, there's a number of different places that you can do that. Most importantly, we talked about last week, objections. So when people say something we do not like, we first of all what? We acknowledge it, or we actually agree with it. Oh, Missy, when's our next Friday call?
I'm actually going to send a chat to everyone on that, but it's actually, okay, it would normally have been the 30th, but because of Labor Day, the 30th we will not be having one, so it's going to be September 6th, which is the Friday after Labor Day.
Okay. And guys, if we get a ton of people on those Friday calls, we'll have them every single week. I have no problem with having them, but when I have them and only 8 people show up, that's saying there's not a huge demand for them. Show me there's a demand, and we will have them every single week. So getting on their side. Now back to the topic here. Getting on their side. Where do we get on people's side? So as we talked about last week, when people give us an objection, we get on their side. We acknowledge it. We say absolutely, and then we get them to repeat it back. We repeat it back in the form of a question, getting them to immediately agree with us, and then we get on their side. We tell them why they are right. We tell them why they are right. Not kind of right, not I guess I could see it through your eyes. No, we tell them black and white, you are right. Not 90% right, you are 110% right. And that's one way of getting on their side. Another way is when we ask them questions. So Jeff, can you role play with me here?
Sure.
So I say, so Jeff, do you want to pay a lot of fees?
No, I don't want to pay a lot of fees.
Why not?
Well, because I don't want to spend money I don't have to.
Why don't you want to do that?
Well, because it just seems like kind of a waste.
Yeah, and why is it a waste?
Well,
so guys, what is it? So Jeff, how do you feel when I do that?
Well, like you're interrogating me.
like I'm interrogating you, like I'm beating you about the head and shoulders with a rubber hose. So a second place we get on their side. So the first place we get on their side is when they say something we don't like, when they disagree with us, we agree with them. We get on their side. But a second place is a natural thing that I'm trying to get you to do constantly is ask questions. But if all I do is ask question, ask question, ask question, ask question, it sounds like an interrogation. And that's where I know guys are so very close to getting what we're doing here. So call up and say, Mike, you know what, I got a client and they were mad at me because I kept asking the question. They're like, well, what are you trying to point you're trying to make? What's the point you're trying to make? I know that advisor is so close to getting it because he's finally asking enough questions that the client is getting irritated with them. Then all it takes is just one tiny little addition, and they will see their income goes through the roof. And that is you get on their side when you ask them questions. Because all you need to do when you're asking them tons of questions, if you get on their side every time you ask them a question, it turns it into what feels like to them a conversation instead of an interrogation. So I'm going to do it one more time as an interrogation with Jeff, and then I'm going to show you what the difference with doing it and getting on their side. So Jeff, do you like paying fees?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Well, I mean, I just don't want to have to spend any more money than I have to.
Why don't you want to spend money you don't have to?
Well, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. I just wouldn't want to have to do that.
Why don't you want to do that? So what does that sound like when I'm doing that, guys? Do you see how that can turn back, or it can rear its ugly head and bite you if that's the way you conduct yourself? So now let me do it with getting on their side. So Jeff, do you like paying fees?
No, I don't.
No. I mean, who right mind loves paying fees? And why don't we like paying fees?
Well, we don't want to spend any more than we have to.
No, I mean, we don't want to, because if we spend money more than we have to, that's money that's out of our pocket and into somebody else's.
Right.
I mean, and why don't we want to spend money that we don't have to?
Well, we want to put more of our money to work if we can.
Yeah, because if you're putting your money to work, that means it's going to move your goals forward. It's going to allow you to do things that you want to do. Yeah, so absolutely. So guys, what's the difference there? Every time that he says something or answers one of my questions, I just get on his side for how long? Just for a sentence or two. But how much different did that conversation feel than when I'm just going question, 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 question? So we use getting on their sides in two different places. One is when they say something we don't agree with. Yeah, positive strokes, Bill. You're exactly right. Positive strokes. So one is we get on their side when they say things we don't agree with. And second is we get on their side when they answer our questions. We just give them a little positive, one or two sentences that, boy, you're smart. So how long can we have a conversation, do you think? So I want some answers on this, guys. How long can I ask them questions if every time they answer a question, I tell them how smart they are for that particular answer? How long can I ask them questions? Very long, Bill. You're exactly right. Forever and ever and ever, because people love to be right. All day long, Casey. Exactly right. So that allows us to use the system. If you just use the system by just asking them a questions, they're going to say, hey, what's your point? What are you driving at? What are you getting at? But when that happens to you, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It means that you finally have gotten to a point where you're asking tons of questions. And then it's very simple. Just after you ask a question, they answer it to just to tack on a little stroke to make them feel good. So here's what it is not, though. Here's what getting on their side is not. If they say something we don't like, to say, yeah, use the feel, felt, found. So guys, this was something that came out in the 70s, the feel, felt, found for salespeople. Does this work anymore, guys? So, Jeff, give me some sort of objection.
Well, you know, I'm not sure now is really the right time to do anything. I mean, our accounts are looking pretty good right now. I don't know if we want to do anything right now.
Yeah, I understand how you feel, Jeff. You know, and I felt that way too. But here's what I found. So, guys, does that work with a client? What do they see that as when you do that? Feel, felt, found. Can they see that coming? Yeah. Can they see that coming a million miles away? They know that you are a salesman and you're just using a pure sales, Jeff. Exactly right. Pure sales. It's not so. Getting on the side is not feel, felt, found. It's not yes, but Jeff. No, it's not that either. It's not probably. Well, probably you're right, Jeff. No. It's not, well, maybe. Sometimes it's none of those things. When I say getting on their side, what percentage am I talking about? 110%. So feel felt found. Are you telling them that the way they feel is 100% right? Or are you saying, I understand why you're feeling that way, but it's wrong? That's not 100% on their side. Yes, but is that 100% on their side? No. Probably. Is that 100% on their side? No. Maybe. No. Sometimes. No. Getting on their side means they're empirically 100% right without any qualifying language. None of this qualifying, probably, I see how you feel that way, I can understand where you're coming from. That's crappy language. When you say that, they see that you're just saying, yeah, but you're wrong. And they shut right down. So getting on their side is not about that. You're either on their side or you're not. There's no middle ground here. There's no middle ground. You're either on their side or you're not. See, so if they say something you don't like, that's good, and they're set for fight or flight. Do you think people realize when they're giving you an objection? Do you think that they realize that when they're saying something that you don't like? Do you think they realize they're doing that most times? Not all times, but most times. Bill says no. Do we have any others? Guys, when you we got a lot of no's. Let me ask you a question then, guys. When you were shopping for a car, and you say, well, you know, this has a rear-wheel drive. I'm looking for front-wheel drive. Do you really not realize that's going to cause a fight-flight? Can you really not realize that you're just looking, Bill? Exactly, just looking. Do you really think that you don't realize that the salesperson is not going to like that? Either consciously or subconsciously, do you realize the salesperson is not going to like that when you give them an objection? Yeah, yes, we realize it. So when we say something when we give an objection to a client or a salesperson, when we say something a salesperson is like, we realize it. So what's happening to our pulse rate? What's happening to our breathing rate? What's happening to our blood pressure? What's happening to our ability to listen? It's going up. So here's the thing. When I say that to a car salesman, I'm already starting to formulate in my mind. Because when I say, well, I'm looking more for, and this is rear-wheel drive, I'm looking for a front-wheel drive car, I'm already formulating in my mind what I'm going to say to him when he comes back and tells me how great rear-wheel drive is. Tell me I'm not doing that. Yeah, fight or exit. Yeah, drive backwards. So the thing, I'm already formulating in my mind, I know that when I say that I'm looking for a front-wheel drive and this is rear-wheel drive, I already formulate in my mind how I'm going to come back to the salesperson's comeback. So if I'm already formulating in my mind my comeback to the salesperson's comeback, am I even doing and listening to that salesperson? No, I'm just, you're right, Kevin, I'm not. I'm just formulating in my mind what I'm going to say to him. So I'm all about me and what I'm going to say versus listening to what he says. That's, if you recall from last week, that's the very reason we say absolutely. Because all of a sudden it shakes him out of that mentality of I got to come up with my next response, and then, oh, maybe I don't need to come up with the next response because he didn't say what I thought he was going to say. It breaks that pattern. It shakes them up and say, whoa, that's not what I thought he was going to say. If somebody says something you don't think they're going to say, do you listen harder or less hard? If somebody says something completely surprising, do you listen harder or less hard? Better or worse? Harder. Exactly. Listen harder. Wait, what did he just say there? See, it breaks that modality. And then when we start getting on their side and telling them why they're right, what happens to that fight-flight? Goes completely away. The blood pressure drops. The pulse rate goes down. They're like, oh, I'm among friends. And we talked about it last week that the two in classical sales, the two highest stress places are the close and objections. And we turn those objections into rapport building. So so instead of this argument, this push-pull, this I serve it back to you, you serve it back to me, I serve it back to you, you serve it back to me, this volleying back and forth of, well, here's what I think, well, here's what I think, here's what I think. No, instead of this adversarial relationship, we turn it into a bonding experience, a rapport-building experience, by telling them that we agree with them. So are we wrong? We said this last week. Are any objections wrong? or are all objections valid? All objections are valid from that person's point of view. So when we get on their side, are we saying that they're right? No, we're saying they're right from what? So you need to understand this. When you get on their side, you're not necessarily saying they're right. You're saying they're right from what? From their perspective, Kevin. Exactly right. Their perspective. So my job when I'm getting on their side is to view the world through their perspective. Right, Dale? Through their perspective. So I have to get into their shoes. So when they say that, well, this isn't just liquid, and we've already validated that they don't need, let's say that they can pull out $30,000 a year with no charges whatsoever, or with no surrender charges. And we've already validated with them that they'll never spend $30,000 a year ever in their life, but they still say they're not happy with the liquidity of that product. That's still valid. Because even though they say they never need more than $30,000, they still think that what? All that other money is locked up, and I'm not comfortable with that, all that other money being locked up. So we have to get into their shoes. We have to view the world from their perspective. We're looking at it from a rational point of view. Are they looking at anything they're doing it from a rational perspective, guys? Do you think? No. Everything they do is emotional. We're doing things from a rational point of view. We're saying, geez, I'm confused. You just told me you never need more than $30,000, but now you're telling me that that's not enough. I'm confused. What the hell are you talking? They're not talking rationally. They're talking emotionally. So what we have to do is step into their shoes, view the world through their eyes, and say, whoa, I guess, yeah, when I look at it from your point of view, that is kind of crappy. Sure, I can pull out $30,000, but you know what that means? It means I can't pull out what? $270,000. That's crazy. I don't want $270,000 locked up where I can't get at it. That's crazy talk. I'm not doing it. See, from their perspective, that makes sense, right? Would any of us want to lock up $270,000 where you couldn't get at it? No. Now, we know that they can get at it, but that's not how they're looking at it. So we have to climb into their shoes to lower their fight-flight so that we can have a reasonable conversation, but most importantly, so we can take an adversarial relationship and turn it into a rapport-building relationship. So here's what I want you to understand with this, is that when I'm playing football, guys, when I'm playing football and somebody comes up to me, some guy comes up to me and just clocks me on the football field, what do? So I'm on the football field, somebody comes up and just nails me, knocks me to the ground, what do? I get up, yep, Dale, and do what? Really? It says I'm getting like payback, punch him, get in his face. Guys, what do I expect to happen to me on the football field? What do I expect to happen to me on the football field? To get hit. So when I get hit, what do I do on the football field? I don't pay back. I get up, go back to the huddle for the next play because I know what's going to happen on the next play. Guys, for those of you who play football, how many times are you hit in a game? Every single play. So should it surprise me when I'm hit? No. But if I'm at the local mall and some guy comes up and clocks me and knocks me to the ground, now what am I going to do? Now I'm going to do what you're talking about. I'm going to get up. I'm going to hit him. I'm going to get in his face. I'm going to do something. Because at the mall, now on the football field, I expect to get hit. But in the mall, do I expect to get hit? No. So let me ask you a question. Should we expect our clients to give us objections? Should we? Yes. How many of them, Bill? How many of them, Jeff? All of them, exactly. They're all. How many people are going to walk in and turn over their entire life savings to you without a single objection? I tell you what, if they do that, how much money do they have? None. Because they've done that so many times and they've been taken advantage so many times that people have just taken them to the cleaners. They have no money left. Of course they're going to have objections. Of course they are. So should I try to skirt around them or should I look for them? If we can use objections or things that they say that we don't like, if we can use them as rapport building experiences, yes, Bill, we should welcome them. I'm looking for them. I'm scouting for them. I get a smile on my face when somebody gives me an objection because I know, that, aha, it's another way for me to prove to them that what? We think a lot. I'm on your side. Okay? So that's what this is a rapport building experience, and I'm looking for objections. I'm looking for them to say things that they know I won't like. See, here's why, though, if you can master this skill of getting on the side, why you'll close 100% of people. If you can master getting on people's side, you'll close 100% of people because they never have a reason to leave you. If you never disagree with them, when can they finally cut the ties? When can they finally say, I never want to see you again? When can they finally tell you, I don't agree? They can't. They can never tell you they don't agree with you because you're constantly agreeing with them, so they can never cut ties with you. So you'll close 100% of people. See, they can never say no. So why does GOTS work? Because it says you think just like them. And we talked about this before. On Sunday morning shows, those the Capital Gang or whatever, those political shows, there's always one genius and one idiot on every one of those shows. So how do they happen to get one idiot and one genius on on every show? It's amazing. Every show has an idiot and a genius. How do they do that, guys? Do you think that my idiot is necessarily your idiot, or could my idiot be your genius, or vice versa? So we look at people who agree with us as what? Geniuses. And we look at people who disagree with us as idiots. So by getting on their side, we're immediately having them think, whoa, this guy thinks just like me. Whoa, this is amazing. We are two peas in a pod. And when do people buy from you? They buy from people they like. They buy from people that are alike to them. So this is a way for us to build huge rapport. And the best way to do rapport is at very emotional points. The analogy I give is this, is that I have a rich guy and a poor guy. The poor guy drives a truck, the rich guy drives a Cadillac. The poor guy watches football, the rich guy watches a polo. The poor guy eats hamburgers, the rich guy eats sushi. So how much do they have in common? Nothing. They have no rapport whatsoever. But now they're both sitting in the waiting room, and they both found out that they were diagnosed with cancer. Now how much rapport do they have? Immense amounts of rapport. How quickly? Immediately. So rapport it can be developed very, very rapidly and very strongly at stress points. So all of this crap that the old sales training has given us about, hey, look for a picture in the room. Look for something that's like, hey, your kid went to University of Michigan? So did mine. Hey, you're a fisherman? So am I. Where do you fish? Blah, blah, blah. That's bullcrap. Guys, when you start doing that kind of rapport, what do you sound like? When you start doing that kind of rapport, where you look for something in common and then get into conversation, you sound like a salesman, Kevin. Backwards, yes, Jeff, a salesman. Backwards and forwards, you sound like a salesman. But when I get on their side about whatever pressure point they have, when they say that they think that annuities are horrible, and I get on their side about annuities being horrible, what develops instantaneously? See, they thought there was going to be a fight. I sell annuities, so they thought there was going to be a fight. So when they tell me annuities are horrible, and I get on their side about annuities, what happens? Friend, like-minded, exactly, Bill. They say, well, this guy thinks like me. This guy thinks like me. Now, here's the thing. Right, Jeff, I'm doing rapport building. I'm rapport building. So, Jeff Freeberg, we always get guys that say this. They say, well, geez, though, if I get on their side, if I'm selling annuities and they say they hate annuities and I get on their side about not liking annuities, then I'll never get a sale. I'm talking myself out of a sale. What would you say to those guys?
Well, once they know that they're with somebody who's like-minded, then they'll be open-minded. You can't get somebody to look at things from a different perspective if they're on the opposite side of the table. So until you're like-minded, they're not even going to listen to another perspective. But if you can get them to feel like, hey, we're all in this together, we're like-minded, then they'll listen to what you have to say.
That's exactly right. And guys, think about this. A lot of guys say, well, then all you're doing is you're lying to them then. No, I'm not lying to them because, from their perspective, why don't they like annuities? There could be a gazillion reasons why they don't like annuities. It could be because they don't trust big companies. It could be because magazines have said annuities are bad. It could be because their accountant said they're bad. It could be because they've had a bad experience in the past. It could be because their mother had a bad experience in the past. It could be any number of reasons on why they don't like annuities. And could I go through that? Yeah, I don't like annuities either. I don't, because think about it. Annuities are from big companies. And big companies, who are big companies worried about, me or you? Well, themselves. Exactly. So, of course I don't like annuities, because annuities are by big companies, and big companies are only concerned about themselves. And when they're only concerned about themselves, that means I'm left with the cold shoulder. I don't like working with. So far, guys, if I said anything that's wrong, anything that we couldn't agree with, yeah. We could all agree with that. Annuities are big companies. Big companies are only concerned about themselves, and the little guy's always going to get the short stick. All these things I'm saying is true. Or say, and I've seen where annuities are in magazines are said that to be horrible. That you should never invest in an annuity, and blah blah blah. And you go through. So they're saying, wow, this guy's really on my side. He's really, he's not arguing with me. He's agreeing with me. And then we're worried. Well, how could I ever turn this back to an annuity sale then if I'm getting on their side so much about annuities? It's simple. Because I'll get on their side so much, they'll eventually get on my side. So you know what, Jeff? I don't work with, I've just had it with big companies. Because they're only after themselves, because they're always trying to take the little guy like me. I've quit working with annuity companies because they're so huge. I've quit working with oil companies so huge. In fact, I've sold my car. I've sold my lawnmower, and I only ride bikes now, and I've let my lawn go to hell because I'm not going to buy from an oil company either.
Well, but you have to. You have to get around. You have to drive. Not everybody.
Now, keep in mind, this is at the end of 5 minutes of me getting on Jeff's side. I've inched my way there to the ridiculous. I don't jump into the ridiculous right away because that's sarcastic. I agree with him. I agree with him. I agree with him. I agree with him. I agree with him, and then I start to get. Agree with him, and then after 5 minutes of this, I'm getting agree with him so much. I'm saying you're right. Let's not work with any big companies. So I want you to get that I don't jump into this oil analogy like 30 seconds in. I jump into it 4 minutes in, and by that point they know I'm on their side. But then now they see, oh yeah, I guess like Jeff's saying, well you can't just stop with oil company. And I say, right, Jeff. So I didn't really sell my car. I didn't sell my lawnmower. But boy, when I work with big companies, what do I make sure is happening?
Well, that you're protected, that you know what's going on, that someone's looking out for you.
Yeah. Do I ever assume the big companies have my best interest at heart?
No, you don't do that.
No. So do I double and triple check everything?
Yep, you do.
Yeah. Do I read the small print or think I don't need to read the small print because they're on my side?
You definitely read the small print.
But so I do all those things, but do I stop working with that company?
No, you don't stop.
Because if I want to have a car, I have to work with who?
Well, you've got to work with an oil company.
Yeah. And so let me ask you a question, Jeff. Do you know anything else there that out there that will pay for, give you an extra Social Security check when one of your spouses dies?
No, I don't.
Do you know of any other company out there that will pay for your medical expenses if you have any problems medically?
Nope, I don't.
Do you have any other company out there that's going to give you not just give you your money tax free, but double the amount that you have tax free?
No, I don't.
No. And any other company that will pay you if the market goes bad, will pay you instead of charging you fees and then also having you lost all your money?
No.
No. And if there were companies out there, guess what? I would work with them. But the only company I know is out there that does that is these companies that work like this, these insurance companies. So if I had my druthers, guess who I wouldn't work with?
Well, you wouldn't work with them.
No. But do we know any other companies that do these things?
No, we don't.
So that means we have to work with who?
Well, we've got to work with those companies.
So does that mean we give them blanket trust, or we work with them, but we what?
Well, we keep an eye on it and make sure that we read all the fine print. And
So did I lock myself out of a sale by agreeing with him that he doesn't like annuities, guys? No. Because all we say is, hey, I get where you're coming from. But then after I got on his side, and again, you didn't hear me get on his side for 5 minutes. After I got on his side, I just wanted to prove that you're not locking yourself out of a sale by looking at the world through their eyes. In fact, you're locking yourself into a sale. Because once you start to see the world through their eyes, guys, if all of your prospects wore a cap that had a little digital board going across the top of it where you could read what's going on in their mind, if you could read what was going on in their mind, what percentage of people would you sell? If every prospect had a hat where you knew exactly what, 100%, Bill, exactly, 100%, all of them, yes. So getting on their side does a lot of things. That 5-minute rule does a lot of things. First of all, that 5 minutes gives you time to really start to view the world through their eyes. If I just give a blank, yeah, I don't like annuities either, am I really viewing the world through their eyes? No, I have to talk long enough and struggle to figure out, to come up with things. When you're struggling to figure out what can I say to get on their side, that's a good thing, because you're finally breaking out of your box and you're starting to view the world through their eyes. When you struggle to figure out why they said what they said, that's a good thing, because now you're finally getting on their side. You're finally starting to get into their shoes. You're finally starting to look at the world through their eyes when you're struggling. So that's a good thing. So that 5 minutes allows me to climb into their shoes. You can't do it now I can do it in 15 seconds. That's after 12 years of doing this. But I tell you what, when I first started doing this, it takes 5 minutes to get into their side. At least 5 minutes to get into their shoes. Okay? That's one thing. Then we talked about another thing last week. What's another reason we want the 5 minute? Why else do we want that getting on their side to last for 5 minutes? See if anybody remembers this from last week. What else? Why else do we want to go for 5 minutes when we get on their side? We'll see if somebody's typing here before I give you the answer. But the fact that we're not seeing a ton of answers tells us it's worth repeating this. Let's see, because we'll probably only go for 1 minute. Yeah, I agree with that, because you're all right. Aha! Glenn! So the rest of you are right. Because if I say 5 minutes, you're going to go for 1 minute or 2 minutes. But the real answer I was looking for is what Glenn said, which is that if I go for 5 minutes, it means that by the time I get 5 minutes in, they've forgotten what even started this conversation. They've forgotten that they brought up an objection in the first place. They think we're just reasonable people talking. So the importance of having them forget is because nobody likes to be wrong. So if I put 5 minutes between the time they object and the time and 5 minutes of getting on their side, they've forgotten that they've even objected, which means that they're going to be much more open. I don't want to say that they're wrong, but they're okay with agreeing with me. So the big part of that 5 minutes is the more time we put between them, the more likely they forgot what even brought up this conversation in the first place. So Aaron got that right too, yeah. So that's why that 5 minutes. So number one, it gives us time to get on their side. Number two, it gives them time to forget what the objection even was. So that's why we want to go get on their side for 5 minutes. And then, as Jeff was saying earlier, when we do that, we can then, once they realize that we're on their side, we can have a reasonable conversation and overcome the objection the same way we've always overcome it, and they'll be okay with it. Okay? So here's the problem, though. If all we do is get on their side, if we're constantly getting on their side, getting on their side, getting on their side, the problem is they also never have a reason to what? So if they never have a reason to kick us out, that's fantastic. But do we ever get a sale by them not kicking us out? So you're right, Bill, they never have a reason to disagree, but the problem is, will we ever get a sale if all we do is they never kick us out? How long could the sales process go on if we just constantly got on their side, got on their side, got on their side? How long could this sales process possibly go on? Yeah, weeks, months, forever. So just because we're getting on the side, they never have a reason to kick us out, but how do we get them to actually pull the trigger and do something? Well, what we do is we speed it up with the techniques. And what are the techniques? Well, the 5Q system is built on getting on their side and techniques, and the techniques are the scripts. So getting on their side makes sure that they can never kick you out, that they love you more and more and more, that the rapport is built stronger and stronger and stronger. But that having great rapport doesn't mean they're going to necessarily buy from you. It certainly makes it easier. But what the scripts do, the setting the tone script at the first meeting, the disclosure scripts at the second meeting, what those do is they speed up the process immensely. So the 5Q system is built on, number one, getting on their side. We never disagree with the client. We always agree with them, always agree with them, always agree with them. So they never kick us out, and then that gives time, and then the techniques will actually take the process from beginning to end in 3 meetings and have them move all of their money. So getting on their side is now which one of these do you think is most important? Which one do you think is most important, getting on their side or the scripts? What do you think is the most important thing to know, the scripts or getting on their side? Everybody's getting the gods. So Jeff, what's more important, getting on their side or the scripts?
Definitely getting on their side.
Yeah, because have we seen guys that were awesome at getting on their side and crappy at the scripts, and what happens with them?
They still have a lot of success.
Yep, but we've also seen guys that are excellent at scripts that are crappy at getting on their side, and what happens to them?
Yep, they don't do very well.
Yeah, so if you're going to work on one thing, guys, this is the thing to work on. And what was this? What was the skill I told you need to work on last week to do that? What's the drill I told you need to work on last week to do this? To become excellent at getting on their side. 5-minute practice, Kevin. Exactly right. So how many of you have had 7 days in a row where you've practiced a 5-minute drill? Please raise your hand. And I've been asking this question for a decade. Yeah, no, everybody getting no's. Guys, I've been asking this question for Jeff, have I been asking this? People do this for a decade.
Yeah, you've been asking people a long time.
And how many guys have ever done it? I mean, they've done it sporadically. And the guys that have done it sporadically, what happened to their ability to get on their side? It goes up. It goes up. Even doing it sporadically, it goes up. But what I don't understand, I'm going to say something, Jeff, and then I want to make sure that at least that you understand what I'm saying. The most important drill you can do, the most important 5 minutes you can do on a daily basis to double your income is the 5-minute drill. The most important 5 minutes you can spend daily to double your income is the 5-minute drill. So Jeff, just to make sure I'm not speaking Greek where people don't understand what the hell I'm saying, what did you hear me say there?
Well, if you really want to have success in this business, you need to spend 5 minutes practicing getting on people's side. You need to work on the skill where they would never leave you. That if they never say no, that you'll always have a chance at a sale. No one will ever walk out on you. So if you're going to spend 5 minutes doing anything in a day, it should be practicing getting on someone's side.
So guys, by next Monday, when I ask this question yet again, how many of you spent 5 minutes a day for the last 7 days? You should all be saying yes. I don't get why people see this as so hard. Yeah, I do. You know why? Because nobody wants to view the world through other people's eyes. That requires work. That requires mental energy. But you know what? To be unbelievable in this industry requires work and mental energy. So, Bill, it's good that you did it some, and that's better than a lot. I'm sure a lot of guys do it. But do this every day. Here's the great thing: if you get on somebody's side or if you get on, do the 5-minute drill, and I'll explain how here in a few minutes. If you get in, do the 5-minute drill every day for a month, guess when you'll ever have to do it again? So I'm not even asking you to do 5 minutes for the rest of your life, am I, Jeff?
No.
I'm talking about 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day for 30 days. And you'll become phenomenal at this. You will see everything in your life, not just that you're selling, not just doubling your income, but the way you react to everybody in life. Your wife, the maitre d' at the restaurant, your teenage boy will change immensely. Stress will melt away, and people will be doing what you ask them to do with no stress whatsoever. If you invest, what's that? 5 minutes a day for 30 days is 150 minutes. That's what? About a little over 2 hours I'm asking you to invest that will change your life forever. And in a decade, I've asked, geez, hundreds of guys to do that. And I've yet to find one guy willing to do it. You know, one guy did it. It was me. I'm the only guy I know that's ever done that. And guess how much money I made? Boatloads. And guys, you should know, you guys that you know me, I'm about the most argumentative, it's my way or the highway, kiss my ass kind of guy there's out there. But I was able to do these 5-minute drills. And it changed the way I dealt with people, because like I said earlier, when I walk into my office, when I walk into the football field, I expect to get hit. So when I walk into my office, I expect to get objections. So when I walk into my office, I've got my advisor hat on, and I'm not argumentative. I'm not my way or the highway kind of guy. I'm hey, I know they're going to have objections, so my job is to see the world through their eyes when they give me these objections. And I was awesome at it. And that's what I'm at. And you guys could be awesome at it too if you spent 5 minutes a day for 30 days. I guarantee you, 5 minutes a day for 30 days, and your life will change. Your income will double. Your relationship with your spouse will go through the roof. With your teenage kids will go through the roof. Maitre d's will be giving you the best restaurants. You'll be moved in first class on planes if you learn this skill. Please. So, how do we do it? Well, let's go here. Where do you get GOTS? At the very place most advisors panic, which is, again, when they give you an objection. So you got to be an expert. So how do you become a GOTS expert? You do the 5-minute drill. So here's what you do again. Every day, if you drive to work, great. If you walk to work, that's fine. If you in your office, because your office is in your home, that's fine. But the first thing you should do every single day to get your mind right, you've heard that before, to get your mind right, to be able to see things through the other people's eyes. How much more, guys, will you sell if you can get into other people's shoes? How much more will you sell if what's going on in their mind, you know what's going on in their mind? You'll sell 100% of them. So here's how you do the 5-minute drill. If you're a liberal, listen to talk radio. And when they say something you don't mildly agree with, but say something you just totally disagree with, turn off the radio and spend the next 5 minutes, look at your watch, and spend the next 5 minutes talking about why what they said was not kind of valid, not had some truth, but why it was 150% right. Without a doubt. No shadows of a doubt here. 150% right. Why that was right. If you're a conservative, turn on MSNBC or public radio. Listen to something that they have to say. And when you hear something you totally disagree with, get on their side. Look at your watch. 5 minutes. If you're not political at all, turn on sports radio. Listen for something that they say that you totally disagree with and spend the next 5 minutes. Again, look at your watch. Set your watch. 5 minutes getting on their side, explaining why what they said was 100% right. When you can explain for 5 minutes why something you totally, at a gut level, disagree with, when you could do that for 5 minutes, if you can do it for an hour. Because when you can do it for 5 minutes, you can do it for an hour. And when you can do it for 5 minutes, you now are able to instantaneously see the world through other people's eyes and develop deep rapport almost instantaneously. That's a skill that you need. And when you can do that, it's crazy. It's life. I cannot tell you how much your life will change. And I get, well, but Mike, it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard. No, guys, if I'm in the corner of the room and I've got a 45 and I say, if you do not jump 30 feet in the air, I'm going to shoot you in the knee, what's going to happen to 100% of you? If you cannot jump 30 feet in the air, what's going to happen to 100% of you? You're going to get shot in the knee because there are certain things you cannot do. There are certain things that you cannot do. But if I said, hey, I'm going to sit in the corner, I've got a 45, and here's the thing, anytime somebody says something you don't agree with, you're going to spend the next 5 minutes explaining why that's right. Guess what you would all automatically be able to do? Do you really think I would have to shoot any of you if I said, I'm going to shoot you in the knee with this 45 if for the next 5 minutes you can't give me reasons why that person is right? Yeah, none of you are going to get shot. Now, some of you will do it poorly, and some of you will do it well, and some of you will do it helter-skelter and herky-jerky, but what would you all be able to do magically? Get on their side. So don't tell me it's hard. Tell me you don't want to do it. You don't want to focus. You don't want to make it a priority. Tell me that. That I can understand if you say you don't want to make it a priority. I'll understand when you tell me you don't want to do it. I can tell me, you can tell me, hey, I think it's a worthless skill and I should not. Hey, I'll agree with all those. But when somebody tells me it's hard, that's BS. That's BS. It's not that hard. You could do it. Boom! I could walk into your office. You could do it instantaneously. You might not do it well, but you'll be able to do it. Now, the second time you do it, guess what? It's going to be that much better. The third time, by the 10th time you've done it, you're going to be just fine at it. So don't tell me it's hard. Tell me you don't have the mental energy to do it. Tell me you're not concerned about doubling your income. Tell me you're not concerned about being a better human being, because you are a better human being when you get on people's side. But don't tell me it's hard. It's not hard. It's not jumping 30 feet in the air. It's not lifting an 800-pound weight over your head. It's that you don't have the mental focus. You don't want to do it. Okay, I get it. I don't know why you don't want to do it, but if you don't want to do it, I can't argue with the fact you don't want to do it. But you cannot tell me it's hard, because it's not hard. There are a lot of things in this world that are hard. This ain't one of them. So learn how to do this. Learn to use a system, but first learn to get on their side. This 5-minute drill is way more important than learning the first meeting. Way more important than learning the second meeting. It's more important than anything you can learn out there. The 5-minute drill. Now I'm going to stay on. So I got a bunch of people on here. I want to see a bunch of, can I get your commitment for the next 7 days? You're going to do the 5-minute drill every day for 5 minutes. So I want to see some commitments here. Got one from Kevin. Who else? Bill is yes. Who else? Jerry, Dale, Michael, Jeff, Eric, Casey, Travis, Carson. Michelle, excellent. Guys, if you do this, your life will change. Okay? Please. So, after you've learned the getting outside, then go learn the scripts, but not vice versa. So how long should this take? I would tell you, investing 5 minutes a day for a month, so a little over 2 hours, and your life will change. And Jeff, am I exaggerating here?
No, not at all.
So anything to add to this, Jeff, before I cut them loose?
It's a skill that, like Mike said, it translates to your entire life. It'll just become a habit. And once it's a habit, it's something you don't have to think about. Mike's got the picture of the fireman, and we always use the analogy of, if we told a fireman that if he did this, he'd make $200,000 a year, what would he do? Would he go home and say, well, that's 5 minutes I don't have every day, and I guess I won't make $200,000 a year? Or would he lock himself in a room and learn how to get on people's side and come out in a week knowing how to do it? And really, that's all we're asking you to do, is spend 5 minutes a day for 7 days. And if you did it for 7 days, I think you'd find that it's easy to do it for 14. And if you do it for 14, it's easy to do it for 21, and that 30 days goes fast. But we're not even asking you to start with 30 days. We're just asking you to start with 7. And you'll see the difference. It's not like you have to take our word for it. You'll see the difference next week in your meetings.
Guys, I cannot tell you how many times in the past decades the guys have told me this. Wow. I'm not even very good at it, but I started to do this in the meetings, and it was like all of the animosity, all the stress, all the resistance, all the pushback went away. And if you think about it, it works that way, because when the client says something that they know you're going to disagree with, they're expecting you to fight them, and so they're prepared to fight as well. But as soon as you agree with them, it's like they can't grab you. You're like too slippery. There's no way. They can't lock you down. There's no way they can wrestle you. There's no way they can fight you, because every time they try to fight you, you glide away. And when that happens, it's impossible for them not to like you. It's impossible for them to leave. It's impossible for them not to want to do business with you. And once you get to that point, then the scripts will help to speed that up. But this is the skill you need to do. I hope that I've convinced you that this. Just think, the hour we've spent, or the hour we've spent, that's if you just spent that on yourself using this drill, you'd be almost halfway to being a master at this. And here's the great thing. when you're doing it at 5 minutes a day every day, you start to use it in your meetings. And once you use it in meetings, you see the strength of it. It reinforces itself, and it becomes, as Jeff said, a way of communicating. And once it becomes a way of communicating, it's not work anymore. It's just a natural way that you talk with people. So I hope, please be the first group of guys and gals that I've worked with that get this. And I got a lot of commitments here. We're going to ask you next week. And I hope that if you don't do this between now and next week, you'll be embarrassed when we ask you next Monday. And the reason I hope you'll be embarrassed is because, guys, 5 minutes a day to double your income, to double your relationship with your spouse, to double your relationship with, to get anything you want from the flight attendant or the maitre d' at the that doesn't seem like a lot of investment. Yet I cannot understand it. In 10 years, 13 years, I've never yet had anybody to make it a week. So let's set a record here. Never in 13 years have I had anybody go for even a week, 5 days or 5 minutes a day. Let's have a whole bunch of people blow that out of the water by next Monday, okay? So I appreciate all you guys. I don't mean to rail on it, but this is one thing you need to be railed on because it's so